This one is for you, Brad. Arnold wrote us an email saying he may have done something stupid in order to reduce the price of the house through his agent in a contract. He said that there were no inspections required. Now he's wondering if that was the right thing to do. He says he hasn't closed on the home, and all of his friends are saying, you should have at least requested an inspection with the right to pull out of anything above an amount of dollars. But now Arnold is on the hook, and there's really no way out. They passed the financing side of this thing, and he's worried. He wants to know if he does a walkthrough before closing, and he had an inspection, like home team inspection, come out, look over the house, and they found discrepancies, what was found in the disclosure. Could he refuse to close on those discrepancies that were found or problems that are not repaired? And Chuck, we're going to ask you for your advice on this, but let's go to Brad first in terms of going in there as a team right at the walkthrough before closing.
Yeah, they probably have missed whatever window they would have had as far as it relates contractually. But what I will tell you is that over the last several years, a lot of people have moved into homes, they've purchased homes, and they've not gotten a home inspection done. Galar's numbers are pretty high. I mean, they're probably 2 to 3 times the historic average of the number of people who are waiving the inspections. The challenge with waiving the inspections is it's now dependent upon the buyer and maybe even their agent to kind of determine what type of problems that exist with the home. And it just depends how much experience they have. What can they find? I've got lots of stories, about professionals, tradespeople who buy homes. They're planning to renovate them. They think they know what they're looking at. They don't bother with the home inspection. They get into all sorts of, very expensive things on the other side. So, it's always going to make sense to, write the contract so that you can at least do a home inspection. Whether you're accepting the house as is or not, that's another issue. But as it relates to what happens, we've gone in and we've inspected homes after closing, and which is, may be beneficial to someone who's waived the inspection, because at least now the home inspector can guide them to what some of the problems are. We can connect them with, some of the good contractors and tradespeople out there, not commissioned salespeople. They're going to come in and tell them they need a system that they really don't, but just have, a trusted, partner out there who may be able to actually, help fix a home the right way for the least amount of money. So we do a lot of those. I mean, unfortunately, when people call into my office after they've waived that home inspection, they moved in, they found problems, they ask 2 questions of me. They ask, what do I do? Meaning, what contractor should I talk to? And then unfortunately, the next question often is, who do I sue? They feel like they weren't represented correctly, and they want to know what they can do, who they can, get that compensation from. And, unfortunately, the home inspector is not part of that equation. And, Bob, Chuck, I'd turn it back over to you guys to talk more about disclosures and how that all plays out.
Yeah, and I would always recommend, as you're saying, to at least have an inspection done, not necessarily base the closing on it, but at least reserve the right to withdraw your offer if something catastrophic, like a foundation problem, is found. So, Chuck, Arnold's thought about bringing in inspectors at the walkthrough and they find a discrepancy with what was on the disclosure. Any possibility that could work as a plan?
The first thing is with the folks that are waiving inspections. Hopefully it's not a realtor or somebody like that that's telling them, oh yeah, this place is in good shape. Because, I get a lot of, oh yeah, my dad walked through and said it looked really good. Okay, whatever, But if the realtor goes through and says, oh my, this is a really well-built house. This is in good shape. They just became a home inspector. They're going to be held to a standard of being a home inspector, and that's just not frequently the case. So can they get someone to come in with the walkthrough? I assume it's possible, but Brad, I know the way you guys work. I don't think that really fits in the confines of a walkthrough. Now, if they do go through and they've got an inspector tagging along and says, yeah, hey, that foundation is crap, or, oh, hey, look at that gigantic hole in the roof, and the disclosure says, oh, no, the foundation has never leaked whatsoever, and hole, what hole? Then you've got a misrepresentation. Now, if you have a substantial misrepresentation, well, that'd be those would be good grounds to say, hey, I'm not closing. Now, are you going to win on it? It's going to be a court to decide what substantial is and what kind of damages and whatnot need to be pulled out. But yeah, with misrepresentation, you'd be hard pressed to say, no, I tricked you and you have to take this piece of crap house. Yeah, I think a misrepresentation would probably be an avenue out, provided you can find that that's definitely the case. Having a little hairline crack in some concrete on a basement floor, well, concrete cracks. That's one guarantee. So it would just depend on the level. Now, to find that level, Brad, are you guys able to do that? By just walking through and taking a look?
So we do limited scope inspections, and we did 2 just this past week for people that were trying to make a final decision as to whether or not they're going to go through with a contract. It wasn't a full inspection. It was just limited to a few systems that they wanted inspected. Those can be done. The state of Kentucky doesn't allow us to do what they call a walk and talk, because the way that our standards of practice are set up and the standards that we follow. But it's not to say that we haven't had, I get calls, my inspectors get calls, from agents, they're at a walkthrough, the final walkthrough before closing, and they may say, hey, I need you to take a look at a picture of something that I find a little odd. We do that, okay. I would say pretty regularly, and then we can just kind of give them, a rough idea as to, who they might be, contacting to fix that type of problem.
Yeah, because definition of walkthrough just doesn't, in my mind, fit the box of what you guys do.
No, it's typically not, and normally it's just a question that might come up when they do that final walkthrough, when all the contents are out of the house, because you're able to see things that you wouldn't when the house is is full of stuff.
Arnold, you may be onto something based on what we're hearing from Chuck and Brad with regards to a walkthrough and having it inspected. You might want to pursue that. You might want to call Chuck. I'll give you his number in a moment, and or Brad, and maybe get some more advice off the air. But I think that is at least viable. And this also does go, I think, Brad, you've got a good point, to anybody who has bought in the past 2 years when the market was just crazy busy and who bought a house without an inspection. It might be worth it just to at least get an inspection and maybe also a radon test, just for peace of mind and to know what you're up against, if there's anything that you're up against. It may not be anything.
Well, that and the other thing, consider the home inspectors are third party. We're disinterested. We're not selling anything as far as it relates to repairs and systems. So, I think we would give probably a better, more transparent, honest type of evaluation of, say, an HVAC system than some of the, the big name contractors in town, which are commissioned to sell stuff.
This is true. And be leery of any inspector who comes out, does a report, and then says, I can get this fixed for you and do it at a reasonable rate. So
can't do that.
It's conflict of interest. Yeah, no kidding. We suggest one of the things you can do to protect yourself, folks, is to look at the reviews of the individuals that you may be considering to hire. And I'm leading directly to a shameless plug for the Sokoler team. We're really proud of our reviews, and we published them on two different locations. One is Google, one is Zillow. They can't be made up. You can research and you'll see why. And we made it easy for you to get there. Go to LouisvilleZillow.com. That's LouisvilleZillow.com, or go to LouisvilleGoogle.com to read our reviews. A reminder, you can see a rebroadcast of this show, hear it and see it, going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. And when we come back, we're going to ask for Brad's help on the most overlooked fire hazards in your home. We continue after the break with Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bugout, 844-411-TEAM. Also, we thank and we will continue with Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Office, 499-6360. And if you're thinking of selling your home now in the future or even buying a home, I'd love to be able to help you. I also have a team, but when it comes to selling, it's me. I'll come out. We'll talk as long as you want. It's free. There's no obligation. No home too big, no home too small. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS.